Another cover of Inner Sandman? Consider this your warning.
It's time for reaction. Welcome in. Old School Nerd.
Metallica. Yeah, I know. And as a child of the 80s, I experienced both the savage beginnings of Metallica, then the commercial explosionary success of the Black Album, and then Loaded, and then the resurgence after Saint Anger, where they tried to go back to their roots. And now when they tour, they play mostly their old stuff, and their fans love it, and they're iconic, and they're never going away. You know what else isn't going away? People doing Metallica covers. Everybody's done them. From Leo Maracchioli, Halocene, Violet Orlandi, and those are just three of the artists that I cover on my channel. Almost every band at some point has gone up in front of a crowd and said, "Hey everybody, this is an old one for you. Here's Inner Sandman," and do. And everybody's like, yay. The problem with doing Inner Sandman is it's been done a lot. Almost everyone, including your grandmother, has heard this song in one way, shape, or form. And in some cases, that's great for Metallica because it means, look, these are all the different artists you've impacted. And at the same time, it's become ad nauseum. Not ad infinitum. No. Ad nauseum. Which means we've heard it so many times. I'm to the point now, if I hear it on the radio, I change the channel. And it's nothing against Metallica. I'm just tired. It's one of those songs that can be a little bit exhausting because everyone's done a cover of it. Now, of course, Alessia Cara and The Warning did a cover of Inner Sandman. Here's the problem. Everyone's telling me to check it out. Okay? Now, normally I'd be like, nah, I don't want to do another reaction to another cover of another song that I've heard. I don't know. I heard Inner Sandman probably about 1,000 times before The Warning were ever born. That's because they're young and because I'm old. But out of respect for these three young ladies and their creativity, I'm going to do the reaction to it. Now, does this mean I'm going into this reaction with a cynical state of mind? Yes. Does it mean that I'm kind of going into it a little pessimistic and with these preconceived notions of, oh, it's another Metallica cover? Yes. Is that fair to them? Probably not. But it's really hard for me to get past the fact that, well, it's been 30 years. 30 years of listening to this song. And it's been covered by everybody. So why not them too? Now, I have gotten a few messages going, hey, it's not what you think. And I went, really? Are you sure? Because what I think is it's another Metallica cover. And they're like, it's different. So for those few of you that are in my Old School Nerd social media YouTube community that said, hey, Old School, you really got to do this one. It's not what you think. It's more along the lines of what you like. And I went, fair enough. So, because of you, because of all of you, not the ones that said I should do it, but the ones that said, hey, we know who you are. We know what you like. Give this a chance. I'm going to do it. Ready? This is The Warning with Alessia Cara, who I've never heard of, by the way. I don't recall her name, but I'm interested to see what they're doing. And people say this is more of a recreation rather than just a cover. You know how we make the comment that Leo does things where he pays homage to the cover, but he always does his own Leo stuff? They said that this is uniquely created to where it doesn't sound like Metallica. And I'm like, the two harp twins? And they're like, no. Okay, good. All right, here we go. Here's The Warning. Alessia Cara, Inner Sandman. My name is Old School Nerd. Check us out on OldSkuleNerd.com. Got all the social media posts. Patreon link for those who want to help support the channel. I appreciate all of you because you're the ones who said, hey, come do this one. And the merchandise store. Let's go. You know my favorite part about this look? Do you remember when she was the shortest? Do you remember when she was so small? And now every time they do a trio pic, she's got to be in the middle. Otherwise, it looks like a bar graph on a phone. Sorry, Paul. It's cool. But if you ask the two older sisters, hey, if you asked them like 5 years ago, hey, by the way, your little sister is going to be like 6 inches to a foot taller than both of you. That have been like, what? Yeah. Bass players, man. What can you do? Okay. This is probably the most unique cover I've heard of Inner Sandman. And when someone said this is kind of a recreation, I kind of agree with them a little bit because they still haven't gotten into any power chords. The tempo has still stayed the same, but the amplitude that you would expect, that that hit and the walk down, have yet to do it. In fact, they're still doing the pre-chorded walk up, but they're doing it in the bridge. They're doing the bridge notes and they're keeping it very slowly. She's playing the guitar, but she's doing singular notes, no chords. The bass and the drums are staying very structured on the outside of the arrangement to where they're not filling in and becoming too big. And they're not even... It's interesting because when they start off with Alessia, and I hope I'm saying you're right, Miss Alessia, when you're saying, when she's doing that Take My Hand, which is the tag, which is it's the line before the end of the chorus, Take My Hand, Often Never Neverland. So when they're doing that Take My Hand, that's also the reverberating tag at the end of the original Metallica song. When James Hetfield repeats himself, Take My Hand, over and over again as the song ends, it's almost like the Warning are taking up where Metallica left off and they're coming back into the song, but in a totally different way. Now, a lot of people have probably done reactions to this and listened to this. Did you think about that? Did you think about the fact that Alessia and the Warning are starting their song where James Hetfield of Metallica and Metallica ends theirs? They're not trying to do the song as a cover over. They're starting where James stops with the Take My Hand, and they're walking back into it. See? And people say I don't make any sense or I don't know anything. I'm the arrangement guy. Remember? Arrangement, composition, creative direction. That's what I do. So I notice things in songs that most people don't. That's what I'm noticing, that they're starting their cover or recreation. Theirs starts where Metallica ends, and they're taking it, rather than just rehashing, they're taking it up from the end and starting their own. See? You guys thought I was dumb. That's my favorite part. I mean,
you are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
But I'm right. Just because I'm dumb doesn't mean I'm not right. Continue.
Till the Sandman he comes, sleep with one eye open, gripping your pillow tight. Exit light, enter night.
All right. A lot of heavy metal reactors. I'm one of many, many people that react to heavy metal. Give The Warning a lot of grief because they're more rock. They're rock, and they have a very large popular following. So a lot of metalheads don't accept them, whereas I do, and the reason why is because they're a power trio. So when you're a power trio, there is a little bit of give. I mean, if you had double guitars, rhythm, lead, double lead, power bass, and you went really, really fast and stuff, okay, fine, that's metalhead material. But because they're a power trio, you don't compare them to super heavy power metal bands. Like you wouldn't compare The Warning to Unleash the Archers. It's a different animal. But I do consider them a hard rock, close to kind of a storytelling metal band because of the way they arrange stuff. Now, back to the song, I really enjoy what they're doing here, and it's because it's completely unique. This is the first time I've heard this song arranged completely out of sequence to what the original was. It's the same key. The chord progression is the same, okay? The arrangement, however, is completely different. It's like they took Inner Sandman as a deck of cards, shuffled it up, and dealt it out without knowing you don't know where it's going to go. They do the entire pre-chorus through. She does the entire first verse, still no build-up. Here's my favorite part, and this is the part that I actually really enjoyed. I was like, wait a minute. Okay, when they do the chorus, are they going to bust into that Metallica power chord, walk down, da-na-na, that 3-note walk down? Or are they going to do something different? Well, they did something completely different. They stay, instead of doing something that Metallica has done, or so many other artists have done covering this song, they did something that's uniquely The Warning. The Warning, in most of their music that I've reacted to, they are really, really good at builds and chop notes. Where Paul in the back, Paula, whatever, Paulina, whatever you want to call her, okay, starts with a P, ends with an awesome, sorry. Okay, she's in the back there, and she's doing these chop notes. And she's, now, most people relate to Inner Sandman as that chop note, where the drummer's like, dun 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 dun. The tom work. And then, of course, that leads your bass player, whether it be Jason Newsted or, right, to play that, and it lifts it up, and then that allows Kurt and, of course, James to do their guitar riffs. Now, in this case, she's doing the build out on the toms and the kick, but they don't add anything to it. Instead, they just build it, and then they slowly build the volume of that progressionary, but instead of it being the power chord and then a walk down, they just stay in the power chord and they slowly build it up through the end of the chorus. And then instead of using that part and reiterating the chorus, they do something unique. They add their own part to it, which is the woe part, where they're singing their progressed woe choruses while playing their style of rock. It's a unique way of looking at it, okay? We've seen bands like Lilac, who are also amazingly talented young people, doing Metallica covers. And they have more instruments, okay? Right? So they're actually a 4-piece musical with the keyboard. This is a power 3-piece. So there are certain parts of Inner Sandman that technically The Warning cannot play, because they don't have a double guitar to play the phrasing and then the harmonizing phrasing or the lead. So what they do is they make it uniquely own and they stay to their style. It's something similar to what Leo does, where Leo will play the cover song and pay homage to the original artist, both with notes, tempo, styling, and storytelling. However, he also does his own unique Leo breakdowns, and his guitaring and his imagery is fairly just for him. Theirs takes it another step. Instead of it just being a cover, I can honestly say that this has so far been completely reimagined, and I like it. Same key, same tempo, same storytelling. However, the way they're telling the story in their own order with their own style is completely random to the person that just has heard this song 1,000+ times. This is going to be a long reaction. Why? Because I'm really interested in how they're doing this. Some people will be like, okay, also, people also know that in my channel, if my reaction is 10 to 15 minutes long total, either the song was an onslaught and I was too busy doing like this, or there wasn't a lot to say about it. In this instance, there's a lot to talk about because there's so many things going on that hit me that make me go, wait a minute. This song is not a cover. This song is a wait a minute song. And I kind of like it.
Something's wrong, shut the lights, heavy thoughts tonight, and they aren't of Snow White. Dreams of war, dreams of life, dreams of dragons fire, and the things that will bite, yeah. Sleep with one eye open, gripping your pillow tight. Exit light, enter night. Take my hand, we're off to Never, Neverland.
Okay. Now they take the second verse and they sing and play the progression chords all the way through. And then they sing the chorus, which is exactly opposite of what they did the first time. In the first verse and verse chorus, they did nothing in the arrangement of the original, which caught us kind of in a, like, whoa, what is this? Now, on this one, they do sing the chorus. They do the second verse in the complete chord progression. Sorry, I got excited. Chord progression as the original, which is great. And then they immediately go into the chorus. Now, the way they made the chorus different this round was they did that thing that the Warning does on a lot of their stuff. Okay, you ready? In the chorus of Enter Sandman, they changed the count, not the tempo. The tempo stays the same. But they change the count from quarter note to half note. So instead of your downbeats going dun 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 dun, it's dun dun dun. So they're having that. So you hear it's heavier. Now, in metal theory, okay, there are two types of metal. Well, three. Let's go with three. The first one is what we all know as metal. It's what everyone just kind of grew up on. Dio, Metallica, Iron Maiden, going on. Black Sabbath, right? Judas Priest. Okay, I'm just going to give you those original examples. Now, then there's also what's referred to as speed metal, okay? Now, I'm not talking, please, there's going to be people in the comment going, what about death metal and this metal? Okay, I'm not talking about modern iterations of metal. Metal, just like any other genre, has developed into many, many, many forms. There's as many types of metal as there are colors in a crayon box. There's a lot, and there's a lot of different flavors. But when we're talking about the original metal that everyone thinks about, there's your classic traditional metal, which I just mentioned. Then there's speed metal, okay? Your Slayers, Pantera, thrash, where it's just extremely fast, try to keep up, and headbang. Instead of just headbanging where it's like this, it's more of a neck wobble than a headbang, but it's just as hard. That really hurt, by the way. And then there's also another type, which is what we refer to as that epic storytelling metal. For instance, power ballads. Yeah, the power ballad. Your White Snakes, right? your Europes, Scorpions, right? Now, Scorpions does do, some fast stuff, but Winds of Change, where your chords are quarter note, they're half notes. Big chords that go out to big vocals. And that's what they're doing here. It's where they slow down the chord progression from quarter note to half note to where each note has a bigger punch, but they pull out So as they do their woes, their harmonized woes, it gives a weight to it. So again, something that's different from Metallica. We talked about the first verse, first chorus, completely different arrangement, which we caught our attention. Then they go into the second verse, and it seems very straightforward, 3-piece progression of Inner Sandman second verse. Notes, tempo, the whole thing. And then when they go into the chorus, to make sure they remind us they are not who we think they are, or it's not the kind of cover we think it's going to be, they decide to go power storytelling, it's just, they chop down the count to half notes, which gives it that punch. Really interested to see where they go from here, because after your second chorus, you're supposed to be progressing to bridge, then to the guitar solo. And we keep forgetting that the first verse and first chorus was mostly Alessia Cara, and then this entire progression in the second round was all Warning. But as they get to the end of this chorus, we see them going back to Alessia. And by the way, I'm doing this live. I've never seen this before, and I'm just stopping and telling you everything I'm picking up on the fly. My channel is the only channel that I know of where when I do a reaction, I'm stopping it in the middle so I can tell you everything that I'm noticing on the fly. No script, never seen this before. I have no idea what's going on. All I know is I know who the Warning is. I listen to a lot of their stuff, and I know this song by heart. Why? 20 years ago, I learned how to play it. So I kind of know it now. So.
Now I lay me down to sleep. Pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I die before I wake, pray the Lord my soul to take.
Hush, little baby, don't say a word. And never mind that noise you heard. It's just the beast under your bed.
Let's see what they do here.
In your closet, in your head.
It should be building up, but it's not.
Little baby,
They're going to reprise it.
and never mind that noise you heard.
Vocal reprisal. I like this.
Beast under your bed. In your closet, in your head. Hush, little baby, don't
Third round reprisal.
and never mind that noise you heard. It's just the beast under your bed. In your closet, in your head. It's in light into the night. Take my hand. We're off to Neverland. We're off to Neverland.
All right, we're going to review all of this. I don't care how long this reaction is. You want to know why? Because they deserve a really great reaction for this. This is a very unique way to do this. And let's talk about, real quick, let's talk about this reprisal. The build out of a 3-round vocal reprisal of this section, this lead in to the chorus, I've never seen anyone do this. I've seen a lot of covers where they'll do this portion in some unique way, where they'll do like the little child voice. And in this case, they took Polina to do it, which I thought was hilarious because you wouldn't think that she's such a savage on the drums that when she's her doing that little baby type voice, I'm like, how'd she do that? Because it's not the voice of the person we see on the drums most of the time. But back to the song. Most bands that do covers of this, because there's no distincted guitar solo in Enter Sandman, this is usually where cover bands will like to put one just to make it theirs. Because Enter Sandman is so played so often, covered so often, performed so many times, that a lot of people don't want to hear the original song copied by another band. They want to have some kind of variance in it. And most cover bands, or most bands that are doing a tribute to the song, will usually add a guitar solo in this part of the song. They'll do the Hush Little Baby part, the spoken word, and then they do the Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep, the prayer. And then when they go to do the Hush Little Baby, Don't Say a Word, that part, they will actually cut into that with a big, massive guitar solo. They'll amp up the tempo and just make it big. And that's how they make it their own. Another person that does this a lot, not necessarily on this song, but Leo does that. He will go into a song, play the song straight up with his own style, but pay homage to the original writing, get into that bridge, into the guitar solo, usually do what's called a Leo breakdown, where he goes from quarter notes to half notes or eighth notes to quarter notes. So kind of break it down in the sound and then do a crazy Leo guitar solo. So for this one, the Warning does it exactly the opposite of what most people expect. They do something that they can do. They have Alessia Cara singing this lead. They come in here and they start this 3-round reprisal of that vocal lead in to the chorus. And every time they do it bigger and heavier until finally it becomes a giant damn horror movie right here. She turns into Banshee but right here. And this is where my favorite part of this rendition occurs. Not cover, rendition, reimagination, you call it whatever you want. Once they get to this part and they build it out, they go into what is referred to as the standard Enter Sandman run. They actually play the entire chorus straight, the way it was originally written. Chord progression, tempo, styling, it's all the same. They do it as a power trio, so there's no harmonizing guitar in it, and that's fine. They're a power trio. This is how it's supposed to sound when you're doing this. What I did not expect is once they got past that portion, they got to the end of this, they went to this section. They did a small rendition, and then they go into playing that original hook, a power chord into that three key note progression. Bump, da na na na, right? And they did it as the Warning. They didn't do it as Metallica. They didn't do it as another band. They did it in exactly the same way. They play a lot of their music. The Warning style, when it comes to this sort of power metal, is reminiscent of a lot of heavier 3-piece power trios. Now, when we talk about power trios, the most famous power trio probably of all time is Rush. That's not what this is, okay? They're pretty straightforward in it, okay? They take the power and savagery, great power chords, great bass runs, but what really takes this band out when they do this style right here, makes them unique, is as a power trio, they really allow the drummer to come out there and become part of the melodic tones along with the chording. A lot of times in bands, when you do these power trios, your drummer winds up being just the section that supports what the guitar is doing, and then the bass is kind of the segue between the two. What the Warning does that makes them unique, and it's what gives them their unique sound, is that all three ladies, all three of them, not just the guitar player lead singer, not just the oldest sister, she does a lot of the melodic tones, but they allow both of the two other sisters to also accompaniment. The drums and the bass are not just there to support the melody that's played by the guitar. All three elements are part of the sound. Listen to what I'm talking about. I'm going to let it play just so you can hear the sound. Now we're going to come into here. Now in most bands, the drummer's going to sit there on the hi-hat and snare with the kick and just it's going to flow through with that kick. And so you have that dum 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 da na 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 na. But instead of just that front kick, Don't expect that. Also, do not expect the bass player to echo the same power chord progression that the guitarist is doing. Okay? Anytime someone plays Enter Sandman, the bass and the lead guitar are playing the same progression. Power chord, note walk down. Power chord, note walk down. That's Enter Sandman. And when you have both the bass and the guitar playing the same thing, it gives that heavy hook that everyone knows. The Warning is going to do it the Warning's way. And the way that they do it is they don't let anyone just push an agenda. All three of them are working in concert, playing something different. They give it kind of a big band feel. When they do this, they don't sound like a three-piece. They sound like an ensemble. Listen. It's hard to hear it unless you understand how the arrangement progresses. The bass is not just playing the power chord. The bass is playing variant notes that walk up to each note and down from each note. So it's not just that one tone you hear. Instead of letting it be that hi-hat snare hit with just the bass just quarter noting it, dum, 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 dum. Instead, she's using the bass kick with the bass kick, instead of doing this straight thump, is hitting on the chords. Dun, 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 dun. She's doing that, and at the same time, she gets off the hi-hat and she doesn't hit the ride, she's hitting a crash, which gives it a bigger sound for a three-piece. Again, The Warning is really good at this. Most of their songs don't sound like a three-piece band. They sound like a four-piece band because they don't sit inside just the simple arrangement. They allow some different variances in their styling to where they elevate their sound. Now, I don't know enough about The Warning to tell you whose idea this was. If it's a songwriting team, if it's the ladies themselves that say, look, this sounds a little bit small. We're a three-piece. We should variance it up. Let's everyone do a little bit more, a little bit extra, add a little bit extra little tags, a little bit more nuance to it to where we can sound bigger than what we are as just a three-piece. Or if it's the producers, the record producer, the sound engineer. There's so many different people within the production of a song or the writing and recording of a song that could have an idea of saying, hey, let's do this. I don't know whose idea it was or if it's written this way. But it does give them, as a three-piece, a bigger sound than you would expect from just a straight three. Now, performance-wise, The Warning is very good at performing. Okay? Again, I've said it before. I don't know how many sets of drums she goes through, but she's a savage. The youngest sister, who, when the first time I ever saw them, was, oh my God, she reminded me of my 12-year-old daughter, Caroline. She was just so quiet, and she was just there, and she's working the bass and everything. And now she's as tall as a supermodel, but she moves like a superhero. She's just kicking, and the stances are nuts. And of course, the oldest sister has just been a rock star since the beginning. Always has been. So this is The Warning. This is Enter Sandman. I don't consider this a cover. I do consider this kind of a unique work. It is a reimagination. Is it still Metallica? Yes. Is it still the same song? Yes. Is it completely reimagined and redone in their own unique way? Absolutely. So great job. I kind of like this. Is it a playlist song? I see my kids enjoying this a lot. Do I think this is probably one of the better performances and interpretations of this song? Yeah, I do. So I just, you know what it makes me want to do? It makes me want to go listen to some of their regular stuff. It makes me want to go listen to Warning songs, right? Because yeah, look what they did for Enter Sandman. But, I want to go it's just I'm gonna go listen to Choke now. It's like, come on, So great job, ladies. Yeah. And this is coming from an old school nerd who's an old school Metallica fan. And I remember when the Black Album came off. When the Black Album came off, everyone thought, oh my God, Inner Sandman is the greatest song ever written, and I'll never get enough of it. And all of a sudden you're realizing after 30 years, you're just begging for something else. And this was that. My name is Old School Nerd. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.